Kevin De Bruyne is the best Premier League midfielder ever in the history of the Prem. He's got 5 Premier League titles, he's got 1 Champions League, and De Bruyne is the only player that was before Guardiola arrived. He marked the Guardiola era. He's the best player in the Guardiola era, Kevin De Bruyne, and I think this Guardiola Man City is one of the best teams I've ever seen, and definitely top 2 ever in the Premier League history. What's up, guys? Here with you, FC Wonderkid, episode 139, here with my guy, Breton. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm still processing the fact that we're in 2024, but it is happy Kevin De Bruyne is back week, and happy Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester, whoever, United, whatever, shaking in their boots week is back because Kevin De Bruyne is back, and that is huge for all of us, frankly. And I think Belgium just became a favorite for the Euros. I don't know. But I'm just kidding. That was tongue-in-cheek. But Alex, I got to ask, how are you doing in January 2024? Have you processed the fact that we're here, we're in a new year yet?
We're in a new year. Fantastic. It's so true. And the expectations are the Euros are coming. Copa America's coming. The Champions League, the last time we're going to see the Champions League like this, it's coming in the final in London. So I am really excited. But Breton, I remember there was a promise in the last podcast for you to give your predictions for 2024. So people, put down below too, what are your predictions in the comments section and anything you want to see in future podcasts, us to discuss. But Breton, let us know. Yeah. What are your predictions?
Well, you know, I don't want to take up way too much time on this, but I think I might start arguments here, and I think there might be some love, quote unquote love, in the comments section after this. But let's start with one that we talked about last week. I still and want to reiterate, and you were in agreement with me that unless there are kind of coming of ages, right, in terms of, let's see, Vitor Roque, in terms of Endrick at Real Madrid, Brazil, prediction for 2024, Brazil will continue to struggle in 2024. They will not win Copa America. They will qualify for 2026, even though that won't happen in 2024. But until they get their personnel right, until they get the proper coach in, and yes,
you don't believe
I know
in Dorival?
I don't necessarily believe that he's the long-term answer. If you look at Dorival's history, he has not been at any club for longer than 3 years. I understand this is a nation, so maybe this is hopefully for him the end of all managerial spots, right? Where he decides to put his anchor down and hang on because he becomes a legendary fixture in Brazilian football. But right now, Dorival, to me, somebody that doesn't know the Brazilian Federation too much, which is going to set me up for a little bit of pain, the only thing I remember about Dorival is the fact that in 2010 he lost his job because he stood up to Neymar, if I remember correctly, right? He benched Neymar, I guess, for unprofessional attitude or whatever he thought he was benching him for, and he paid with his job. Now, since then, I think he has managed every club in the Brasileirão, almost every club in the Brasileirão. Most recently, he was at Sao Paulo. Most recently, he won a cup, and I know he has the respect. But I also don't necessarily think he is the guy that is going to lead a Brazilian team to a Copa America win in the States. And beyond that, they're going to have to figure it out by 2026, which is the next time I see Brazil having a real chance to be on top of the world. Okay, Brazil
Hendrick,
will continue.
Vitor Roque, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, all much better players. All much better players. But going with what you said on Dorival Jr. is by no means close to the level of Ancelotti. Mr. Carlo Ancelotti, that all Brazilian fans were hoping, were praying, were doing anything in their hopes to get him as the manager. Carlo Ancelotti would have been the best possible manager for the Brazil national team. Dorival is not close, and I would have picked José Mourinho ahead of Dorival and Renato Gaúcho, that is doing a phenomenal job at Grêmio. Look how happy Luis Suarez was at Grêmio with Dorival Jr. It's so like, he was a charismatic fella that everybody knows. Renato Gaúcho loves to go to the beach in Rio de Janeiro. Copa de Cabana. He's known to be there, Renato Gaúcho. A charismatic coach that would be better than Dorival Jr. to coach this Brazilian national team and to have this young core with him, okay, that needs to do very good in Copa America. So,
and with Dorival, do you think that Neymar...
oh, yeah. He's selected.
It's 13 years.
Neymar is selected always with Dorival, with Renato Gaúcho, even with José Mourinho. He would need to have some talks with José Mourinho that would want to understand why isn't Neymar the best Neymar at the Brazil national team. Somewhere where he can be loved, somewhere where he can show his best football, but it doesn't seem to be the case. But what are your other predictions, Breton?
I started with the layup here. Now I'm going to... hit you pretty hard. I feel that in 2024 we will see Xavi sacked as Barcelona coach. There's a frustration that seems to be brewing ins and outs.
Girona?
It's not. Well, yes, that he's definitely there. If you're going internally, you've got Rafa Marquez. It's who knows? I mean, maybe even the Valencia coach who's making a little bit of waves these days, doing something with very little. But it's not something I want to see. And let me reiterate, I actually believe Xavi long term, has what it takes to thread the needle that is a insanely legendary status and legendary history of Barcelona with a internal clock, right? When internal running of the ship that is just still being worked out, right? And being able to thread that needle to perform on the field, but at the same time be able to placate all the masses, right? I think can only be done with maybe a guy like Xavi long term. The issue is I do believe that some people from a tactical standpoint, from personnel standpoint, they don't believe Xavi is the guy long term. They feel like Xavi might be. Well, yeah, Lewandowski. I mean, you're talking about quite a few within there that they've got to get rid of. I mean, we've been talking about new wingers. I
don't think they need to get rid of
for the
Lewandowski.
last year.
I don't want to. Well, no. But
you
imagine
need to not get rid of. I mean, phase out over time. But if it's for playing style, if it's for the inability to get the most out of his players, I can understand a sacking. What I don't necessarily is understand, and I don't think they're going to sack him necessarily for this, would be if he doesn't go out and win the Champions League or he doesn't go out and get at least quarterfinal semis. But I have a feeling that that's exactly what's going to do him in. They lose to Napoli, Xavi's gone.
I think if they don't get top 3 in La Liga, I think Xavi could be gone. But I do see that Laporta believes in Xavi for 2 years. I think it will show a lot of commitment to Xavi if he keeps him in the summer with bad results this season. Because another season of Lewandowski, now he's got Vitor Roque at the second half of the season, Rafinha, Lamine Yamal's older. There's a lot of variables. But going with what you said about Xavi, Barcelona with Lewandowski at Barcelona has 70 games, 44 goals, 12 assists. This confirms that La Liga is much harder than the Bundesliga, and 2, that Bayern Munich has a much better team than Barcelona right now and in the last 3 years too. It's a fact. He's believing in the future of Barca, and who can blame him? It's a beautiful city. It's a good project that it showed to be getting Conde, Ronald Araújo there, Ter Stegen there. There's still good players there. So I don't necessarily agree that Xavi will be sacked in 2024, but I do think there's a high risk if they don't get top 3, if they lose to Napoli too, which I believe Barca will be beating Napoli. I believe that will happen, especially if Osimhen leaves in January.
Well,
Come on.
Oh, yeah. Well, if he gets 120, 140 million for him or plus, maybe Napoli can learn how to spend well. But no, I mean, looking at the round of 16 opponents, Barcelona is thanking their lucky stars. They brought Napoli in. I mean, the only one better, I guess, would have been Copenhagen at this moment.
And Lamine Yamal in 2030 will be 23. That is absolutely mad. And I see people say, oh, common player in the comments section. Yeah, right. It's a 16-year-old playing in La Liga, playing in the Champions League, playing for the Spanish national team, common player. He can be at the same level right now, but he's 16. So it's the level and the potential. The potential, people, is unreal. So that's why Barca plays Lamine Yamal. And he's got a lot of talent.
Well, yeah, I mean, the quality at 16 years old speaks for itself. He's the youngest goal scorer in the history of the Spanish Super Cup. He's the youngest goal scorer in the history of La Liga. He's the youngest goal scorer in the history of Euro qualifying. And I believe he's the youngest goal scorer in the history of the Spanish national team. So Lamine Yamal obviously has done a lot, has packed in a lot at 16. But you're right. I mean, you have to develop other tools beyond that as we move further along. And sometimes people move sideways. I'm not equating Lamine Yamal to Bojan Krkic, but that is a cautionary tale of getting way too excited about somebody way too quickly. Now, Lamine Yamal, I think, has already done much more than Bojan Krkic did to assume his holy crap, this is the future of Barcelona status. So we'll see. But I'm with you. I want to reiterate, I don't want to see Xavi sacked. I still think even if they bow out of competitions earlier than they'd like to, even if he loses to Napoli, even if he falls out of top 3, I really would like to see them stick with him because, frankly, it's the internal stuff that needs to be dealt with, and I can't see anybody right now more equipped to handle it, even if they suffer on the field. The issue is you have that facade, you have that front, that legendary status of Barcelona has to be uber competitive at all times, and it just doesn't jive well with the internal of right now. Right, the internal of right now. So we'll see. But that is one I know that I had a feeling you were going to have some issues with that. But you also see the possibilities, right? Okay.
So your predictions is that Brazil will not perform, is that Xavi will be sacked, and what's the third, Breton?
The third one is, unfortunately, I'm going all negative here. If the U.S. national team, I got to go with a little bit of a homerism here. If the U.S. national team is successful in 2024 at Copa America, and I'm going to reiterate, I think their cap is potentially third place at Copa America, a Copa America that Brazil will not win. I believe it's in spite of Greg Berhalter, and it's not because of Greg Berhalter. Unless Berhalter shifts, changes, starts to mold his team around his actual player personnel instead of trying to throw them into a tactical setup that is boring as all get out to watch 99% of the time. I really think that Greg Berhalter should be gone if they don't get on the podium or in the semifinals of the Copa America. That should be the minimum. And he should be gone because you'll have 2 years to get it right. We are in the middle of, or the beginning stages of a super cycle of competitions, world-class competitions coming to our shores, coming to the United States of America, coming to our continent. And that, in and of itself, is not being met, right, in parallel with the ambition of our federation in signing Greg Berhalter a second time to run for a second cycle. Now, I don't want to see him fail. I want to see him change, but I really do. Yeah, well, I don't even know if he's necessarily who I would bring in anymore, and let's save that for another day. But when it comes down to it, if he missteps and he doesn't get in the semifinals of Copa America, and the U.S. does not get there, he needs to be gone. Okay, and I actually do think that that's going to happen. I think we're going to underperform at Copa America, and if we don't, it's because Christian Pulisic, Juventus's new Andrea Pirlo, just kidding, he's not Andrea Pirlo, but Juventus's Weston McKennie, who's having a great run of form to start 2024, and several others, Yunus Musa, others. It will be in spite of Greg Berhalter and not because. And I just hate saying this, but he's not the man. He's not the man for me, and I really should have, spoken out before 2024. Before 2022, the World Cup. But when it comes down to it, he's the guy that they wind up picking, and to pick him a second time after underperforming the way that they have. The only skin they've got right now is Mexico's. And at some point, that might change too, if you see the further development of Santiago Jimenez, right? Fidel Ambriz, others. So, yeah, I don't like saying it, but I need to see change. I need to see change.
Completely understandable, Breton, because your expectations, being the host too of Copa America, being the host of the next World Cup, U.S. men's national team's expectations are to go through in any of those group stages. Any of those group stages. You're going to have full stadiums, all supporting the U.S. men's national team. So no pressure. But let us know down below, do you agree with Breton's predictions? Let us know what you thinking in the YouTube comment section. But yes, the Premier League did not disappoint. Man City did not disappoint. And I'm going to start by saying, I'm going to go very bold and state that Kevin De Bruyne is the best Premier League midfielder ever in the history of the Prem. He's got 5 Premier League titles. He's got 1 Champions League. And De Bruyne is the only player that was before Guardiola arrived. He marked the Guardiola era. He's the best player in the Guardiola era, Kevin De Bruyne. And I think this Guardiola Man City is one of the best teams I've ever seen. And definitely top 2 ever in the Premier League history. Maybe the Jose Mourinho team. Maybe the Jose Mourinho team could beat one-on-one, face-to-face. But this Man City team is absolutely special. And De Bruyne came on 5 minutes ago. Then you have a couple of minutes after the game-winning assist to Oscar Bob. Trusting the youth. The hunger is there. Guardiola just knows who to pick and how to play the best style of football. Man City are going to win the Premier League by April or May. Only Liverpool can stop them. Only Liverpool can stop them.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this script before, right? Come on. There's no way it's going to happen this again, right? It can't happen this way. But yes, for anyone that thought Kevin De Bruyne would lose a step, I mean, even he was very, very serious with himself afterwards. He goes, I know I can make an impact right now with my lungs for 15 to 25 minutes. If that were 80 minutes, no, that would not be the same Kevin De Bruyne right now. He's got still a lot of work ahead of him. But yeah, a goal and an assist. I'm going to throw a tiny little asterisk on it, just in the sense of Newcastle is beaten ragged right now in terms of injuries, in terms of Eddie Howe right now not rushing like Big Ange did to go out and get reinforcements of any capacity just yet. He's riding the same horses to death at the moment. And it's happening all over again. And frankly, Manchester City probably should have won that game 5-2 because if it weren't for Martin Dubravka, Dubravka had a few saves. Now, none of that takes away from the fact that De Bruyne came in and within 5 minutes, like you said, he scores his first goal since the Champions League semi-final. And if he only plays 15 important games, 20 important games from here on out every year for Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, he still is absolutely massive. I just don't know if I can get over the hump, Alex,
Breton,
yet to call
let me just tell you
the
this.
best midfielder ever. Ever in the Premier League.
If Kevin De Bruyne was at Liverpool right now with Jurgen Klopp, with Virgil van Dijk, with Alisson, with this unreal team, they would have won 3 Champions League maybe until now. They've won 1, and I'm saying that De Bruyne would have made the difference to have 2 more. 2 more. De Bruyne is that guy. He is that guy. I think it's De Bruyne. The more time passes, the more people say, it was too easy. Man City's a top team. No! De Bruyne helped Man City become a top team. A team with football heritage, winning a Champions League for the same time. It's greatness on the pitch. It's charisma on the pitch. It's a genius on the pitch. De Bruyne is the player that makes the difference. And even in the Euros, let's see if he goes to the Euros too. De Bruyne, in the last 10 years, in terms of midfielders, the only midfielder I'd say he's on the same level as De Bruyne is Luka Modric. Luka Modric is the only player I'd say. Mesut Ozil, unreal at Arsenal, but nothing close to this. I love Bruno Fernandes for Portugal, but for Man United, he's not De Bruyne what is for Man City. Man City, he's clinical, and even Odegaard too. That I love at Arsenal, not even close to what we see with De Bruyne. He's the difference. And no Erling Haaland. And I wanted to state this too, Breton. Pep Guardiola said that his team is hungry to win a Premier League title. Why are they hungry? They will win the first Premier League title 4 in a row. No, Man City, if they win the Prem this year, they will be the first time a Premier League team wins 4 Premier League titles in a row. That's why they're hungry. And if you see the Man City squad, what they're right now, and what they were when Pep Guardiola started, very different players. You got Doku in his first season. You got Gvardiol in his first season. You got Erling Haaland second. You got Phil Foden, Rico Lewis. You got hungry players that want to make the difference. And let's not forget Julian Alvarez that wins any trophy that he plays in. Or at least we get that feeling. So, it's the Man City era, once again, with the youth going bold.
It is, and that's kind of why I feel like there's an asterisk thrown on it, because it does feel like a new era. If we go back and we look at 20, 30 years ago, at the beginning stages of the money from elsewhere boom, let's just say that, when Abramovich bought Chelsea and started buying Shevchenko, started buying, I mean, you name it, right? That was the first real shopping spree, if you will. It's not really asterisk. I guess it's kind of phases. But in terms of De Bruyne's effect, in terms of the continuity, in terms of the synergy that he has, and the understanding he has with an elite coach and one of the best coaches of all time, and Pep Guardiola, I'm gonna have to agree with you. He's obviously the best of the last 20 years.
And
right?
De Bruyne, I think so. Oh, he's the best ever in the Premier League, Breton. He's better than.
I know you're saying that.
The thing here is Lampard. I think he's the best offensive midfielder in his era. But De Bruyne, what he's continuously doing, and Man City too. This needs to be stated. Thank God Walker. No, Man City needs to be stated that Walker made a good decision staying. Bernard Silva did a good decision staying. They got Ruben Dias, a world-class center back. They got Rodri, that is unbeaten for Man City in his last 50 games. 39 wins and 11 draws. Rodri's the best CDM in the world. That happens because De Bruyne is there, motivating, training on a weekly basis with him, and Guardiola is there, the master, the genius, and one of the best managers, if not the best manager ever in Premier League history too. Alex Ferguson. These are the names that Guardiola is starting to be compared, and that's why he arrived to the Premier League with this project of Man City. That even now, he gets rewarded with his brother being the chairman of Girona, which makes total sense because City Group owns 48% of Girona. So I think he's loving life, and who wouldn't love life if you're with Man City? I gotta say it.
So one of my secondary predictions for 2024 should not be that Pep Guardiola is going to announce his desire to move on from Manchester City by the end of the year.
I think he stays as long as Haaland is there too. Do you think Haaland leaves Man City this summer? If not, then Guardiola doesn't leave too, Breton, because Haaland is the main variable with De Bruyne to win a Champions League.
Yeah, but it depends on where Mbappe goes, and yeah, it just
Mbappe
right
goes
now.
to
All I know is that Erling Haaland. We knew that stress reaction before anyone said it. We knew that was going to wind up being a whole lot worse than an actual stress fracture. Right? They have to be as tender as possible with him. So I know he's kind of coming back and on the mend still. But if they can squeeze another month or two out of him in terms of less needed from him, I know that's never good for Erling Haaland in terms of in his mind taking a shot of milk after the game. But when you just need to see him fully recovered. But yeah, no, I'm with you in all this talk. I just best ever. My brain is broken just thinking about it, especially when the last goal he scored, because of how much he's been injured as of late. The last goal he scored was in the semifinal in April, I think it was, or was it May? So 6+ months of waiting, or 9+ months of waiting for him to actually score a goal. But yeah, there was no doubt that he was going to have an impact when he came in. I just feel bad. I feel bad for Newcastle, but at some point you got to start asking questions of Eddie Howe, because 6 losses in your last 7 Premier League games is not acceptable for a team that has bigger ambitions.
with high expectations. Totally right, Breton. A team that when Newcastle signs a player, they usually sign right. They got unfortunate with Tonali, but Sven Botton, Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon. There are more rights than wrongs right here. And I think they'll be hitting the markets once again in January and in the summer too. Because yes, this team is fighting to go top 4 consistently one day. That's what Newcastle is investing towards. And if Eddie Howe leaves Newcastle, there's managers that can be appointed that are bold picks, like Farioli of Nice, like Ruben Amorim of Sporting. Like, if they convince Arne Slot with the money. Well, Tottenham didn't convince. But Ange Postecoglou worked out. But there's young managers that can make a difference and that are available in the market. A lot of people hinted on Michel, too, of Girona.
Yeah.
So that would be a big difference. And a project manager.
Huge.
Project manager too. But you said Man City. Last thing I wanted to mention too is Oscar Bob. Oscar Bob having this shine is totally deserved. He's one of the best talents coming out of the Man City Academy, and the Man City Academy deserves recognition. Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho, Frimpong has left Man City. Everybody tends to forget about Frimpong. Cole Palmer, James Trafford. Now you see Oscar Bob too. Bino Gittins that is with Jadon Sancho at Dortmund. So many.
Alex Garcia at Girona was there, right? At one point. He's now in the Spanish national team setup. It's absolutely ridiculous. Bino Gittins, I think you just said, assisted Jadon Sancho, or Jadon Sancho assisted, Jamie Bino Gittins. No, he assisted Marco Reus. But anyway, Bino Gittins is from there. But Oscar Bob, listen, to do that's innate. That's like you grow up with the ball at your feet type of stuff. Because while we all think we can do that in the moment, taking a lofted ball down as well as he did, and then rounding the goalkeeper who had a ridiculous game up until that point. Oscar Bob just showed such tight control and such a kind of innovation, I guess you will. And I know it's weird to say that when he's just shifting the ball from his left to his right in a really quick fashion and pushing it right by him after that. But my gosh, one, it looked beautiful, so buttery. I was watching it with people that don't normally watch football, and they were like, "Woo!" And you might have just had a fan created right then and there. And unfortunately, it's a Manchester City fan moving forward because they don't need more of those. But when it comes down to it, Oscar Bob, what a great first Premier League goal to score at 20 years old. Oscar Bob is part of one of these things on paper when you list all the talents that Norway has, right? Started at top by Erling Haaland. You could even say Fredrik Arsnes. You can say, obviously, Martin Odegaard. And then on the flanks, you've got guys like Oscar Bob. And on the other side, Antonio Nusa at Club Bruges. You've got even young ones like Sver Nipan at Rosenborg in the Elite Syrian. It makes my bones hurt thinking about not being able to see any of these guys at the Euros, and probably not seeing them. We'll see. I mean, it's an expanded World Cup. Hopefully seeing them at World Cup 2026 in the States.
Hopefully. Erling Haaland needs to make that happen, and you listed phenomenal names that will be helping him in that journey. The Norwegian future is real completely. And mentioning, another big game that happened. It was not just Man City, Newcastle. There was a Man United, Tottenham, and Man United. I see good signs. Not all the signs about Man United are good right now. Lisandro Martinez is back. Casemiro is going to be back. But Rashford scored his first goal at Old Trafford in 7 months. Yeah. He hadn't scored since May in Old Trafford. And it confirms that the trio of forwards at Man United must be Rashford, Rasmus Winter Højlund, and Alejandro Garnacho too. That Garnacho is always he's got such a flair on him. A consistent threat to the goal. He really is. And Rasmus Winter Højlund has had his first game in which he had a goal and an assist. And in 2024, we've seen 2 goals. I fully expect a new Rasmus Winter Højlund at Man United because he's starting to get that vibe. And he's got the support on him. And Erik ten Hag needs to bet on him every single minute he can because he's the top goal scorer at Man United in that team in all competitions. And he's 20. Yeah. Come on. Don't kill a 20-year-old. He's starting.
You hit the nail on the head, though. That was one of the first games I've watched of Rasmus Winter Højlund at Manchester United since he's arrived, where he just had that vibe. He had that vibe. And I don't think you can pick a better play than when he had Mickey Van de Ven trying to post him up, and he did that little heel kick by him and then beat Mickey Van de Ven by pace. Now, he had a couple steps, right? He had a couple steps in front of him, but he beat him for pace to run down. I don't know if it didn't wind up amounting to anything, but that little thing in and of itself reminded me of him at his best for Atalanta. And that is what you want to see. So Rasmus Winterholen, a lot of people forget, kid's still 20 years old. Yeah. Just 20 years old. So he's going to continue to grow into it. It was nice to see Rashford with a little chip on his shoulder again, like you said.
Do you think Rasmus Winterholen has a higher potential than Darwin Núñez? I think that Rasmus Winterholen definitely has more potential than any other Premier League striker in London right now. Better than any at Arsenal, better than any at Chelsea. I would put all my money on Rasmus Winterholen ahead of those London team strikers.
Yeah, because he already has innate finishing. Already has the finishing down.
Striker of Denmark too?
A lot of the other strikers in London don't necessarily have that at the moment. Although his counterpart in this game now has 6 goals in 6 games. Who am I talking about? Richarlison. So you got to give a little love for the much maligned Richarlison at this moment, because Big Ange, he's the man with a plan, and he's getting the most. He's getting the most out of Richarlison. And not to shift things really quickly, but Big Ange actually has a plan from the transfer front. He's got Daniel Levy working overtime, because that's how ingrained Daniel Levy feels in the Big Ange feel to Spurs. Yes, and Paratici. But apparently they were up until 3 a.m. trying to get this Radu Dragusin deal over the line, because Bayern came in.
Because he's talented, man.
The team that is still in the Champions League, Bayern, the team that hasn't lost the Champions League group stage game in like forever, comes in for Radu Dragusin, and you got to credit Paratici, you got to credit Daniel Levy, and you got to credit Big Ange for the vision to get it over the line. Now, whether or not he winds up being an amazing addition, that remains to be seen. But at 21, Romanian center back that obviously has worked his way through Serie A and built a very, very good profile for himself, picked Spurs and the project over Bayern Munich. So
he wouldn't start
and forced Eric Dyer out in the process.
And it facilitated Bayern Munich towards who they were going to sign for Eric Dyer. I think it's an interesting move too. But mentioning first on Tottenham end, I'll go on Dyer. I'll talk about Dyer because I think Kane even tampered a bit on there. I think it's a good move. But on Tottenham, Ange Postecoglou, Daniel Levy, Paratici, they totally deserve the credit for what's happening. Every player that comes to Tottenham in these transfer windows with Ange Postecoglou, you feel an intent towards getting them. And even the players that remain at the club. You see Porro much better. You see Udogi much better. You see Bentancur, that for me is an underrated CDM. For me, Rodrigo Bentancur is one of the best defensive mids in the Premier League. It needs to be stated more. And vital for Tottenham. When Pape Sarr's playing, we all know what's coming. I like Højbjerg, but Pape Sarr, special talent, and what he does for them is special. But Pedro Porro has 7 assists right now in the Premier League. He's the top assister in defenders in the Premier League. A development like that couldn't happen with a Conte, and it's with Ange Postecoglou that is doing a phenomenal job. And the transfers of Vicario, Mickey Van de Ven, James Maddison, you see Radu Dragusin now, Timo Werner. You get a sense that all these players fit the Ange Postecoglou mold. They fit his high intensity, high pressing style of play, and I gotta respect Tottenham for what they're doing with that. It's unreal.
And a little throw out to FC shout out to FC Wonderkid in that the average age of his signings is a shade under 23 at this moment.
And Postecoglou with Tottenham. What?
Yeah, you got a lot. That's even with the Timo Werner 27-year-old signing. I mean, come on. No, but I like that for depth. I like that for more options.
No obligation to buy Breton. Good.
I know. But Big Ange, I just got a quick little tangential story for you here. We know the AFCON's going on right now. The Asian Cup is going on right now, and that's why Son did not play at Old Trafford in this game versus Manchester United. Probably would have had a different outcome if he was there. But the last time, I did not know this, but South Korea has not won the Asian Cup in 60 plus years.
Ooh.
60 plus years. The last time they were in the finals. Okay, this is fun. This is really fun. The last time they were in the finals, they played Australia, the Socceroos, who were coached by who? Big Ange Postecoglou. And guess who beat them? Oh, the Socceroos won in that one. And I think that was a decade plus ago. But it is just really interesting to see how things kind of come full circle, except I think Big Ange might be rooting for Son this time to finally end that drought in the Asian Cup for South Korea because they've got a little bit of a golden generation.
I think he's Australian.
But anyway,
though.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think he's Aussie though. But South Korea, it's Heung-min Son and it's Min Jae Kim too. They got one of the best center backs in the world too. So the Asian Cup deserves more recognition, and I think we'll have time to be talking just of a team in the Asian Cup that is performing really well. But yes, we mentioned Khadou Dragusin transfers time here with FC Wonderkid, and a bold move was Erik Dyer going to Bayern Munich for 3.5 million. A deal that confirmed Khadou Dragusin going to Tottenham, but Erik Dyer, I like the deal. He's the fourth center back of a team like Bayern Munich, a team that is legendary, and I for sure know that Erik Dyer will not be the player that will do horrific games. He will know the respect, and that maybe we'll see prime Erik Dyer at Bayern Munich. But I think he realizes his position in the squad, that he's behind Min Jae Kim, Upamecano, and De Ligt. He knows he won't be starting ahead of them if there's no injuries, at least right now. So if this serves as inspiration, go bold Erik Dyer, and I love this move for a player that can play center at CDM too at given moments. He is versatile. I think it's a good move.
And for a player that I feel like he's been around forever, and he's still, I don't even think he's cracked 30 yet.
I watched his debut at Sporting when I was back in the
amazing.
day. He played at right back in the day. Even though he left Sporting for 5 million to Tottenham, and he stayed there for an eternity, as it seemed. But yes, now going to Bayern.
How I gotta ask, because I forget. How did he wind up at Sporting in the first place as an Englishman?
Academy product. He studied in the school that I can talk more about that in the future maybe. But yes, there's ties between me and Erik Dyer that doesn't even know. But yes, Erik Dyer he grew up here in Portugal, and he was a Sporting Academy product. With all fairness, if you see Erik Dyer speaking to Jose Mourinho, no doubt, like Erik Dyer has a 100% perfect accent of Portuguese. I was shocked when I was watching that documentary of Amazon Prime confirming just that. But I like that move to Bayern Munich, and I think one day he'll go to Sporting. He could deny it, I don't know. But I like what's happening with him. And Bayern Munich to have Harry Kane, that is the best striker in the world. Erling Haaland helps me because he hasn't been at the best form this season. We saw Erling Haaland going very bold last season, but Harry Kane hasn't stopped at Bayern Munich. He's got 23 games, 26 goals, and 8 assists. Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, England, once again, I'll state it, they're favorites for the Euros with these guys balling out like this. But we'll beat them. What'll up go?
I don't know. I don't know if either of you guys will be winning that Euro. That Euro is going to be wide open. I'm just calling it. I'm going to call it now. Another 2024 prediction. One of the favorites will not win Euro 2024.
Oh, so you're saying France, England, or Portugal? They won't win it.
I think
you're wrong.
Exactly. I think it's gonna. I probably am wrong, but I think it's gonna be a coming of the age story, and it's gonna be someone more like. I mean, I'm looking at Spain. I'm looking at the Netherlands.
With no Gavi.
Well, with no Gavi, Pedri's back. We'll see.
Breton,
we'll see what happens.
Imagine if in the Euros we see a Wonderkid manager winning the Euros for his nation. Dominic Tedesco with Belgium or Julian Nagelsmann with Germany. If Germany win the Euros, people will be like, it's Jamal Musiala, it's Florian Wirtz, and it's Julian Nagelsmann's era marked. It's the start now. Yeah. That would be a bang.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, well, Nagelsmann better be careful, because if he underperforms when Germany is the host nation, we know Thomas Tuchel will then wind up taking his job.
No joke, I think that could happen. And then Xabi Alonso gets to Bayern Munich. Because that's one of my predictions. We'll be talking more about Bayer Leverkusen more ahead. But stating on transfers, and a big transfer it is, and it's always a big transfer to talk about this player, it's Kylian Mbappe. We're talking Euros too. Yeah. It's the summer. In this summer, we're going to see Kylian Mbappe, the captain of France, with Kylian Mbappe has 46 goals and 30 assists for France. He's the captain of France. I think he's going to be the most talked player this summer because, yes, he'll be moving to Real Madrid, his dream club, because Real Madrid right now, they've got the upper hand with Kylian Mbappe. Kylian Mbappe, if he wants to win a Ballon d'Or, he has to go to Real Madrid to guarantee the most success in probabilities. 25 years old, French captain. Now you got to show to the world you're the best player in the world. Haaland cannot win the Champions League. It must be Real Madrid with a Kylian Mbappe. And Ancelotti staying, I think even gives more power to Real Madrid because Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, Jude Bellingham, Hendrik, I think they're all happy about Ancelotti staying. And I think Mbappe should be too because you would learn a lot with Ancelotti. But a bit of me thinks Zidane with Mbappe one day at Real Madrid, but that's a whole different conversation. I just hope he goes to Real Madrid and he's coached by one of the best managers ever in the history of the game with Don Carlo Ancelotti.
Alex, we're gonna fast forward 10 years, and we're still gonna be talking about Zinedine Zidane taking over some vacant managerial post. I think he just loves these types of prognostications. I mean, when is Zidane going to actually come back? That's what we need to know.
I think it's when
Deschamps loses his job. Exactly. When Deschamps loses his job this summer.
Or Real Madrid again. I even saw some Marcel, if Marcel gets takeover, but I think that's very far-fetched. I think PSG have a chance, but I think that would maybe put a bit in jeopardy his legacy with Marseille. But we've seen a lot. We've seen it all in football. We've seen Figo playing for Real, for Barca. We've seen so many of these stories. Tevez for Man United, for Man City. Like, it's not like it's impossible for him to go to PSG one day.
If Real Madrid wins La Liga, if Real Madrid wins the Champions League, as is a very realistic possibility, they're obviously good enough to do so. With their current personnel, and that's without a kind of bona fide, potent number 9. Does a Kylian Mbappe, bringing him in, does that ruin the chemistry? Does that mix up the chemistry way too much? I'm sure it still happens from a marketability standpoint, from obviously a playability standpoint, and a durability of a new dynasty. Yeah. But my goodness, I mean, where else do you go from there? You got to win now 3 in a row or 4 in a row. You got no excuse, because if you can win it without him, then you have to win it with him.
And the greatness of Real Madrid is that Real Madrid with Florentino Perez, the greatness is that obvious for everyone in the world that Kylian Mbappe has to go to Real Madrid. If Real Madrid were in a bad financial state, if they were like Barcelona right now, people would say, it would be a huge commitment for Mbappe. But right now, the best player in the world is Jude Bellingham. One of the best coaches in the world is Carlo Ancelotti. You got Valverde, Camavinga, Rodrigo, Tchouameni. You got a young core, even Brahim Diaz off the bench. Vital, very good player. Not vital, but very good player. So, Calafat, Florentino Perez, thank you for making it obvious that Kylian Mbappe must go to Real Madrid in order to win a Champions League. The only way Liverpool can get Kylian Mbappe, everybody knows, is if Mo Salah is sold. So there needs a step for that to happen. And if there's a step for something to happen, it takes longer for it to happen. And Kylian Mbappe is already talking with Real Madrid because the position will be vacant and it's all going to be smooth sail. A smooth sail. Well, but let us know. Do you agree, disagree with what I'm saying about Kylian Mbappe? Because, it's an opinion right now. It's not a fact.
It is. It is. And he's been very question marky about it. He doesn't want to upset anything going on. So it doesn't sound like we're going to find out until early summer at the earliest. Probably. But hey, any quick responses to just saw Mo Salah and Egypt lost their first AFCON fixture to Mozambique.
Ora, bora. Jenny Catamo, Moçambique, meus amigos, eles falam português. I love to see that. I like Salah. I think Egypt are, I said, a dark horse. I don't expect them to be a better, I don't see them as a better team than Algeria, Morocco, Senegal, Nigeria. I think all these teams are better than Egypt right now as we speak. But seeing Mozambique, os meus amigos moçambicanos.
Wait.
I love to see it.
They didn't get the 3 points because guess what? The script was written 97th minute penalty kick for Mo Salah. He converts it. They draw 2-2, just like Nigeria drew 1-1 with Equatorial Guinea. Man, AFCON is crazy. The AFCON is absolutely crazy. First off, Mozambique shouldn't even have a chance against Egypt.
That was crazy, man. You did that to me, mate. You did that to me.
I apologize.
Oh, man.
It was 2-1 in the 97th minute. I didn't expect to see a penalty thrown out there. I don't know. The fix is in. What do you think, Alex? Fix is in against Mozambique?
Oh, my days. I still think Egypt are not doing that. Oh, my days. But yes, Mozambique, good job getting a draw with Egypt. That's phenomenal in my view.
Still big.
Oh, my days. Is there any other transfers that you want to state here, Breton? Because I think there's a counter effect happening. I see Karim Benzema is not happy at Al Ittihad. I'm very sad about that because we see Cristiano Ronaldo dominating the Saudi Pro League. And he needs competition. It can't be just Mitrovic with Al Hilal, Jorge Jesus, that they are unbeaten. They just don't lose, those guys. But Benzema wants to leave Al Ittihad. A lot of reports are stating. And now we see Angel Correa. Maybe he's going to Al Ittihad. And I'm going to ask you. I see a lot of reports stating that Thiago Almada will be going to Atletico de Madrid. Is he an Atletico de Madrid player, Breton?
He is. My biggest... Simeone...
Will Simeone be a good manager for Thiago Almada? That's the big question.
He will be.
Argentinian.
He will be. I'm convinced that he will be. My issue is I think of Thiago Almada as early days in MLS Thiago Almada. I think he has changed. I think he has matured. I think he will mature even faster under the tutelage of a Simeone. I think he's matured because he even got a sniff of the field in the World Cup and won a World Cup trophy, so he expects those standards for himself. I think Thiago Almada at Atletico Madrid would be a humongous signing for the future. I wouldn't expect fireworks right away, but I know Atlanta's holding out for at least $30 million.
30 million. So, they would pay it. They would pay it if Angel Correa leaves Al Ittihad.
They want at least an MLS all-time transfer fee. So it's gonna take quite a bit. But I know Almada's pushing big, and I could see a more logical step to Atletico Madrid, like a Girona of some sort. And I know it's weird saying that because Girona obviously is only 2 points behind Real Madrid at the top, or
and for 7 million to 30,
right there. yeah, but Girona's not gonna spend 30 million when their all-time transfer fee is 8, no matter how backed they are financially by City Football Group. So, I really do think Atleti would be a great next step for Almada, but I also know that it's a very divisive line amidst most people that follow Major League Soccer.
Or even Newcastle.
Because his biggest...
Follow Almiron.
I just can't. I can't see him playing in the north of in the north of England. But you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
Tonali, we still haven't seen a lot, but it could. I wasn't expecting that one too over the line when it did.
Well, one thing I saw that went under the radar for me. What do you think about Juve bringing in Thiago Jallo from Lille for just $3.5 million?
Bargain deal. Juve
exactly.
knows.
My thought exactly.
They got $6 million for the Ragu Dragunson deal that they sold Ragu Dragunson for $5 million last season, and then they get 20% of the $30 million from Tottenham, and then with half of that money they get Thiago Jallo. I think Juve are doing great deals. They got Thiago Jallo, they got Miretti, they got Kenan Yildiz. I think the future of Juve is starting to look a lot more brighter. Little by little. Vlahovic-Chiesa is one of the best duos in Serie A 2 right now playing. I just don't believe in Allegri. Even though Juve is second and the team that's most competitive against Inter Milan right now. But Thiago Jallo, what a deal.
Absolutely, but Weston McKennie, man. Weston McKennie for them, I think he's not a new signing. But him going away to Leeds, coming back and having to re-win the trust of everybody at Juve, everybody,
it's true,
right? That has been that's almost as if it's a new signing in and of itself. And I know they like to joke around because, he's a little bit jokey about the Italian culture. He likes to put like ketchup on his pizza or something weird like that. Come on, he's a troll. He loves this. They call him Big Mac McKenny from time to time. But you can't, there's 2 Coppa Italia assists that he had the other day, one of which to
Kenan Yildiz.
That was just a thing of beauty, not just the delivery, but the finish from Yildiz. And it's just, who knows? I'm kind of becoming a Juve fan, and I really didn't set out to. I did not set out to. But it is great to see. But yes, when I saw Thiago Giallo going to Juve for $3.5 million, I know that there's been a one-to-way status on his name at Lille for some time now. I didn't know it was as bad that they would accept just $3.5 million for him, because I think he hasn't even scraped the surface of how good he could be. And I think Juve and Allegri are going to get it out of him.
And I think Lenny Yoro facilitates all that. I think if there was no Lenny Yoro, maybe Thiago Giallo wouldn't have left for $3.5 million. I think it was a big facilitator. Maybe. And I wanted to mention this on my end on transfers. My last thing would be Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho,
of course,
has for Borussia Dortmund Jadon Sancho for Dortmund 138 games, 50 goals, 58 assists, and you get the feeling Jadon Sancho is going to prove every hater wrong in my books. He's going to he's going on the plane to the Euros, to Germany. He may not start. I don't believe he'll be starting, but I believe he's going to be a value-added player in that team and in much better form at Borussia Dortmund. He had an assist to Marco Reus. Yeah. It didn't took much.
He did. and it's going to take a little time for him to get up to snuff there, but you can already see he's got a smile. He's got he wants to prove himself under Edin Terzic, who I still think is not the guy to continue to manage Dortmund. But Sancho swaps out. He made an $85 million deal at United. Hasn't played in I don't even know how long, 7 months, 8 months, something like that. And he comes back into a side that right now, for all intents and purposes, when I look at Dortmund, I think of them as a mess on the field. I don't think of them as a great side. And yet, Alex, they are the ones in the Champions League knockout round, and not Manchester United.
And they were in the group of death.
And they were in the group of death. And he walks into a side. Jadon Sancho walks into a side where he has the possibility to sign for them again. He's got an insane atmosphere of 70,000 plus at every game that knows him for his best, knows him for his greatest, and he now gets to take them through a Champions League knockout stage campaign, if you will, that starts relatively soon. So I know Manchester United, I know Borussia Dortmund are 2 different animals. I'm not out here to say that he fails in the Premier League and only succeeds in the Bundesliga because it's a farmers' league. Otherwise, you'd see more Manchester United. I think you're right. But what I am happy to see is him in his element, and if it takes him being in his element and him happy and him playing his best football, that's what we want for Jadon Sancho.
I agree.
And for Manchester United fans, I'm happy that they get their closure and they get to move on from what has been one of many very bad transfer chapters in a long Glazer transfer mismanagement insanity.
It's true.
A movie in and of itself.
And it's a new era now with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, as it seems too. He has no comments if there's going to be January transfers, but FC Wonderkid has comments. There must be January transfers happening. Center backs, right back maybe, but they will not need to, they can act desperate though. And I even see a lot of João Neves talk to go even to Man United. But let us know, what are the transfers that you want us to mention in the next podcast? Lucas Bergvall, Messinho. There's a lot of players that we got to be talking that are showing a lot of promise, and top teams are all signing these players sooner rather than later, not more than ever. Let us know down below in the comment section, and don't forget to like this video. We wanted to end the podcast mentioning top teams playing right now, and even Wonderkids too. I gotta talk about Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen right now doesn't have Boniface, doesn't have Kosonu, doesn't have Tapsoba, but they have Xabi Alonso, the best manager in the Bundesliga, and maybe I'll say the best young manager right now up for grabs for next season too. Okay, so Ruben Amorim or Xabi Alonso. As stated in previous podcasts, Xabi Alonso is the best manager in the Bundesliga right now, ahead of Thomas Tuchel, and right now, Bayer Leverkusen is the only team in the top 4 leagues unbeaten until now. It's 26 games, 23 wins, 0 losses, with 82 goals scored. Let's not forget that Florian Wirtz in 2023 had 20 assists. He was the top assister behind De Bruyne. How's that possible? That's unreal. So let's bet on that, and let's bet on Bayer Leverkusen. That even though without those players, last minute winner with Palacios.
Ezequiel Palacios, what a story, because Bayer Leverkusen could have cut bait on him a long time ago, because ever since he was signed by them, he had injury issues. Ever since he was signed. And you could say the same about Patrick Schick. And both of them have rewarded the loyalty that Leverkusen has had for them already this season, because I think while they're going to miss the kind of the dynamism that Boniface provides, Patrick Schick should be able to score enough goals until April that Leverkusen should not lose too much in the standings, and vice versa. When it comes down to Palacios, you've got, Granit Xhaka to Bayer Leverkusen. We knew that was going to be a slam dunk, but I guess I'm surprised about how slam dunky it was. It's been phenomenal.
Xhaka and Ezequiel Palacios, one of the best duos in the midfield in the world right now, playing in a double pivot.
Easily in the Bundesliga, and definitely in the definitely in the top 5 leagues and beyond that. Palacios, I'd like to see him in Copa America. I'd like to see him. I don't know where you fit all these guys in the midfield for Argentina.
Palacios for me starts. I think Palacios will get a lot more recognition the moment he leaves Bayer Leverkusen to a top team. Because like I say about Rodri, I see Ezequiel Palacios having that same body feints and style of play that suits a Guardiola. I think a Palacios at a Brighton, a Palacios at a Newcastle would be a monumental signing in my view, and will make him a national team player consistently for Argentina. He's still young. I remember watching him at River and saying, why didn't the Portuguese team get Ezequiel Palacios? And now it took so long for it to be proven with Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso that has a revolutionary style of play, a unique style of play, and it took one summer to sell Moussa Diaby to that didn't fit his style of play, gets a Boniface, gets a Hoffman, gets players that make a difference, and get a Grimaldo. That move itself, one of the best left backs in the world. I wanted to state just that. And Inter Milan, we're talking players, teams mega in form. Inter Milan right now are favorites to win the Scudetto. I will not put my bets on Allegri with Juve, even though they're having a much better season than last season. I think Inter are going so bold with Lautaro Martinez with 18 games, 18 goals, 2 assists right now. Lautaro Martinez will be the top goal scorer of the Serie A, and I want to see him doing better for Argentina, but he will not start in my books. Julian Alvarez.
No,
Alvarez.
He definitely won't. But you mentioned 18 goals in 18 games, 1 penalty over that time. So 17 non-penalty goals. He's leading Serie A by far in total goal involvements. His inter-teammate, Marcus Thuram, probably the best free signing of this past summer. Definitely the best free signing of this past summer. Second on that list of Serie A goal involvements. And in fourth, you've got Hakan Çalhanoğlu. So Inter Milan, they know what's up.
And the references. It's Inter Milan's project right now. It's much more tractable than any other Serie A team. Why is that? They have a manager that has been there for a couple of years now with Inzaghi. They got Acerbi. They got Di Marco, Barella, Lautaro. All players that want to stay there. Bastoni. So it's worthy to play for Inter Milan. And it's a smart decision to join this team. That's why Marcus Thuram goes there. Like, it's a smart deal. And Lautaro Martinez extends with Inter Milan because he's been treated right at Inter Milan. They've given Dzeko to him in the past. They've given Lukaku to him in the past. And now they give him Marcus Thuram. That makes it the best partnership offensively in Serie A. So, Lautaro extend and stay and be a legend. Because since he left Racing, he's never left Inter Milan too.
Well, why we're stopping, No, I know. And it's crazy because with Lautaro, 18 goals in the 18 games, and I don't think there's really been a peep about him that much, right? You don't hear really anybody talking that much about Lautaro Martinez having this insane season where he's eight goals ahead of everybody else, and yet we're talking about Kylian Mbappe scoring all the goals in Ligue 1 and doing the exact same thing in Ligue 1. And Serie A, we all know, is a better league, top to bottom, than Ligue 1. So Lautaro Martinez, I mean, you know, you got to give a little hat tip because he's been insanely consistent the last few seasons for them. I think we would all be talking about Lautaro Martinez if it was him and not Julian Alvarez excelling ridiculously for Argentina. But I do have to say, while we're stopping in Serie A for 1 second, it was a very historic week for Americans in Serie A because Christian Pulisic became the first American ever in the top 5 leagues ever to become player of the month. Okay. I know most of you out there, especially you in Portugal, that's like a normal thing for you guys to deal with. But for us here in the States, this kid from Hershey, Pennsylvania, that moved out of his comfort zone as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, moved over to Dortmund with his dad, worked his way up, was given nothing, handed nothing, and has weaved his way through some of the best teams in the top 5 leagues, won himself a Champions League title, helped on the way to doing so, and now he winds up being pretty high up there in Serie A and enjoying the form of his life. It's nice to see it, and I'm not even going to say, like, ha-ha, Todd Bowley, ha-ha, Chelsea. Couldn't you use a guy like him? Whatever. That water is under the bridge. That ship has sailed. Whatever cliche you want to throw out there. But that is history for Christian Pulisic, and you just got to say it. Hopefully, it's the beginning of a consistent delivery from Christian Pulisic for AC Milan because I just like to see it. It's great to see.
It's mad that the vital players to win the Champions League in 2021 for Chelsea have all left.
All gone.
Timo Werner now at Tottenham. Kai Havertz now at Arsenal. Christian Pulisic now at AC Milan. And then Mason Mount now at United. It's mad that we don't see them staying at the club.
And what's crazy, Alex, what's crazy is that every player that contributed to that for the most part has also been kind of maligned since then, since they've left. A lot of people a lot of Chelsea fans paint Mason Mount as not a good player. They paint Christian Pulisic as not a good player. They paint Timo Werner, who, he has his inconsistencies, but as not a great player. Kai Havertz, not a great player. I mean,
they are good
You can
players.
talk about pound for pound. You can talk about value. You can talk about all that. But I hate to see that type of thing where once they're gone, once they're out of a blue shirt, let's kill them. Let's hit him where it hurts.
I think Mason would have been special at Chelsea. It saddened me not to see him staying more long-term. People say it's because his dad is a Man United fan, but something happened there with the new administration. I wouldn't have been happy if all these new players have come and Enzo Caicedo, Conor Gallagher all want to play minutes. Understandably. But that's a whole other conversation. Teams that are in form right now, too, I got to state, PSV Eindhoven, 17 games in the league, 17 wins, Breton. And they are one win away of beating their best ever start in Eredivisie history, that it was them doing it to PSV, having 18 wins in a row. 0 losses and 0 draws. It's unreal. And PSV right now in the league has players like Luke de Jong with 15 goals, 7 assists. Johan Bakayoko with 3 goals and 8 assists. And a Joey Veerman with 3 goals and 9 assists. These numbers are unreal. And Peter Bosch ball is real. Noah Lang's improving with it. Ricardo Pepe's improving with it. Malik Tillman, we gotta pay attention and remember the name of Tygo Land. Remember the name. He's gonna come real soon. A bit like Frankie De Jong's style of play, but he's a beautiful player that Peter Bosch, I think, will be betting on him in 2024.
Oh, and Isaac Babadi.
Good winger.
PSV Eindhoven, this is historic. I mean, it looks like they will be. They have every possible arrow pointing in the direction of them being a Eredivisie invincible, right? And it's just, I mean, they're already 13 points ahead. They're averaging 3.5 goals a game, Alex, and they're fun to watch. And oh, by the way, they actually went against the bookies, and they actually qualified out of their group stage, right? They're in the knockout rounds of Champions League.
That's
so you gotta they have what I think could be a sustainability issue if they get rid of guys like Joey Veerman, because it's not exactly like lockstep right away. They get also Ismail Siberia has had a great year for them so far, but it's just whether or not do you see this as a flash in the pan, or do you see this as maybe I don't know, Ajax from Ten Hag days?
I think Feyenoord, it will be harder for Feyenoord to retain Santiago Jimenez, David Hanko, than it will be for PSV to keep Luc de Jong and maybe Peter Bosz, because Arne Slot too, I think, will be leaving Feyenoord sooner than maybe Peter Bosz at PSV. I could be wrong. Eredivisie fans, let us know if I'm wrong with this, but I get this feeling that this PSV team has players that are going to stay there long term. Noah Lang, I think, is happy there. Luc de Jong, I think, is happy there. Why should Joey Veerman leave when he's an absolute legend for PSV? I think Johan Bakayoko is impossible to retain him. He's too talented, and he's going to shine in the Euros. One of the top assisters for Belgium. Doku, Johan Bakayoko, and Lukaku ahead. That trio is going to have a lot of conversations saying, where is Bakayoko going after it? So, yeah, I think they're going to retain Breton. The good form. Okay. I think PSV will not have a dropout like the good form. 17 wins. I think next season they keep it. I think they keep it. Not the 17 wins at 100%, but they retain a lot of the players that make this happen. In my view.
I mean, six goals conceded too. I think that needs to be thrown out there if it wasn't already.
Seven. Pretty... In 59, in 59 goals. So, but 7 goals conceded. Not bad.
No, and Luc de Jong, it's nice to see him turn back time again in the Eredivisie. He's going to wind up being in the top 5, top 6, probably all time Eredivisie goal scoring history. But come on, 15 goals, 7 assists already for a guy that most people would have said if they heard Luc de Jong, he's washed up. He's washed up. And yeah, you could say the Eredivisie, but the goals that he took, that Serginho Dest assist.
But who did?
Well, yeah. Exactly.
Like, what?
But yes.
Yeah, but you mentioned Dest performing. Yeah, it's good to see him there, too.
It is. It's good to see him expressing himself. He's still got a lot of holes in his game, but my goodness, when he is on, he is one of the more entertaining fullbacks to watch out there.
It's not Hartman. I prefer Hartman of Feyenoord, though, in my books. Okay. Though. But I wanted to mention, too, we're mentioning teams that are very informed. An international team deserves a lot of praise, too. It's not Uruguay that I would like to give a special shout-out to with Bielsa, Valverde, Darwin. They're going to be crazy in Copa America. But it's the Asian Cup favorites in my books. Japan. Sure. Japan currently have 11 wins in a row in all competitions right now, including wins against Germany, Peru, Canada, and Turkey. That we see this young Turkey generation doing proper damage. Japan can retain them, and it's with players like Japan has Hendo, Morita, Takefusa Kubo, Hueda, Minamino, that was once at Liverpool. This Japanese generation, I get the feeling that they have a good collective team. And that's why they beat in the World Cup Spain, and they beat Germany once again. So I think this is just going to keep going. And Morita, I don't think Morita will be staying another season at Sporting, because what he's going to show in this Asian Cup, what he's going to show the rest of the season at Sporting, great player. Sporting that are 100% victorious at home in the league. Not PSV and Sporting. And Leverkusen, I think. But I don't know if Leverkusen are 100% wins, though. But in the league. But Sporting and PSV are.
Yeah, I mean, they got to be, right?
No, they could have a draw.
Wins.
They could have draw. They could have a draw.
That's true. They definitely did draw once that I know of at the Bay Arena. But I mean, Junya Ito has been great for Stade Reims and Ligue 1. Keito Nakamura is coming up for them. I think he had a goal in their comeback win over Vietnam, which was weird to see. But they're you're right. I mean, they're going to be one of the best in the AFC for a long time. Is what it feels like. It's just how high is the precipice for Japan? How high can they go? And I think you're seeing more of their players test their mettle outside of J League and succeed really well outside of J League. And I think that the longer that continues, you got to think Japan is capable of being a whatever, having a Morocco-like run in a World Cup in the future.
It's true.
That
could happen. Project Blue Lock, never know. The anime is inspired already, and you got Take Fusakubo, that is one of the best youngsters with a left foot on the wing in La Liga. That must be said. And mentioning Wonderkids, I wanted to finish the podcast here in the outro with a bit of Wonderkids knowledge. We forgot to mention Cole Palmer. We're not gonna go through this podcast without mentioning this. Cole Palmer has 9 goals scored and 4 assists right now. In terms of league, under 21 players in the league, only Jude Bellingham has more goal involvements than Cole Palmer this season. That's mad. That is absolutely mad. Jude Bellingham.
How many penalties?
5 penalties. 5 penalties.
Yeah,
for Cole Palmer.
I don't. I'm not pouring cold water on cold Palmer, but
he's too cold.
It takes a lot. There is no doubt that he is he's the favorite of this new Chelsea generation.
And Cole Palmer,
watching them play.
Until going to Chelsea, he played 19 games in the Premier League for Man City. He didn't start many of them, but he had 0 goals. And now we see 5 goals and 4 assists for Chelsea. Unreal games against Luton, Sheffield, and now against Fulham. I know teams. He's going to be improving and playing against better teams better. But you got to respect what he's doing in a short period of time, Cole Palmer. In my view. But I wanted to mention at the end of this podcast, an 11. If you have friends that do not know Wonderkids, here is an 11 to give them some ball knowledge for what's to come in the next 5 years. The best 11 of young players with in goal, Trubin, left back, Udogi, Antonio Silva, Lenny Yoro, and a right back with Frimpong. Then in front in midfield, a João Neves, a Warren Zaire-Emery, a player like Gavi, a player like Jude Bellingham that is the best player in the world. You must have these players. A player like Florian Wirtz, a player like Musiala. Many players can be mentioned. And in front, you must have Vinicius, you must have Saka, you must have a Rodrigo. And in front, in striker, you must have a Haaland or a Santiago Jimenez or Evan Ferguson or Boniface. Please send this to friends that do not know about Wonderkids. Because this is the list.
You mean the Vinicius Jr. who has a hat trick in the first half of the Spanish Super Cup being held in Saudi Arabia?
What the hell, man?
I think you mean that one, right?
Unreal. Vinicius, this is why Carlo Ancelotti stays. 100% victorious in the Champions League too. Oh my days. And Marcos Leonardo,
it's happened.
A goal in his first game for Benfica too. So you've been warned.
That.
The Brazil generation is coming through. My days, Vinicius Jr. with this. Do you believe Vinicius Jr. will win a Ballon d'Or one day, Breton? Is it the best club for that?
Golly, he is at the best club for that. I mean, it's got to be with Real Madrid. The issue is he's not going to if Kylian Mbappe moves to Real Madrid.
Carlo Ancelotti disagrees with you, Breton. He stated that Vinicius Jr. will win a Ballon d'Or one day. And who am I to go against Carlo Ancelotti? I know. Well, I don't know. I'm joking. But Mbappe, if he goes to Real, I agree with you, though.
It's pretty insane to think, that you've got Jude Bellingham, who is the odds-on favorite to win so far, if things stopped today, right? In 2024, you've got Vinicius, who Carlo Ancelotti obviously is backing, and then you've got Kylian Mbappe, who thinks he might, whose ambition is still to win a Ballon d'Or, even though he's put up ridiculous numbers year after year after year after year for the French national team, one of the most successful national teams since the turn of the century, or since a little before the turn of the century.
But you reject for a reason, because Real Madrid is greater, and they have a good organization. The president of CBF, of the Federation of Brazil, is a mess right now. It's a mess.
Yeah.
He was literally, people were saying he did crimes right now. This is the state of the CBF. Carlo Ancelotti did the right decision in staying at Real Madrid because he's got Jude Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr., and Hendrik coming through. It's the right move. And now a hat-trick for Vinicius Jr. in the first half. Oh, my days. World-class, Breton.
I hate to say it, though, but I have been a lot less enamored with Ronaldo Araujo, Jules Koundé. To be honest, like the bigger standout in the defense for Barcelona in the last, say, 2 months, which have not been great for Barcelona, has been Andreas Christensen, if anybody.
Or Balde.
But they desperately need. I wanted to see Inaki Peña be the guy for Barcelona, but they desperately need Ter Stegen back. They need him back.
Oh, yeah,
ASAP.
yeah. But
ASAP.
But Barca talk. They need Lucas Bergval. I don't think he'll be the immediate solution. And they need a new midfielder too. 2 midfielders. I'd get Bergval and Alex Garcia from Girona. I don't know how much it would take. But yes, it doesn't help Xavi, like we mentioned at the mid of this podcast. But Breton, any last shouts?
Just halftime. Oh. No. I think you named it. We could talk about Wonderkids all day. I think that's a whole nother podcast
and AFCON
in terms of how deep you could go down there. And AFCON, which
we'll be talking more.
Nigeria underperform, but once it gets into the swing of things, we'll be talking about it a whole lot. Now, just so much football. I mean, let's keep it rolling. So 139.
And don't
dusted,
forget to comment down below, what have we missed? What do you want to see in future podcasts? Please, okay? We want to know. And feel free, if you want to do cuts from the podcast, we will not be censoring the people that do. We're stating that online. So go bold and do just that. Thank you for the best community to be listening another week. And thank you for going bold with us another podcast. Take care, people.